I know this isn't what you were expecting. Honestly, it wasn't what I expected either. I've spent most of my life as a fairly private person, keeping my thoughts to myself unless I believe they mattered. At my age, you learn that many things aren't worth the effort to say out loud. But what happened to me last night is something I can't keep to myself. I won't. I'm about to share something that might sound unbelievable. I've been turning it over in my mind since around 3 a.m., wondering if I'd finally lost my grip or if years of squinting into the sun on film sets had affected me. But no, this was real. As real as you sitting there now. As real as this podium beneath my hands. Last night, Jesus Christ appeared to me, twice. And when he revealed what lies ahead for America, I broke down and cried like I haven't since I was a child. Now, I see some of you shifting in your seats. I understand. I'm not a preacher, nor a televangelist seeking your money or devotion. I'm just an old man who has made films, tried to tell stories, and lived as decently as I could. I've never claimed to be especially religious. Sure, I was raised with faith, but I've always been more comfortable showing it through actions rather than words. So believe me when I say I never expected anything like this to happen. It began around midnight. I've had trouble sleeping recently, not unusual at my age. I was sitting in my living room, in the dark, reflecting on many things, the state of the world, this country, where we've been, and where we seem to be heading. When you grow older, you can't help but take stock of life. And honestly, what I saw unsettled me. As I sat there, the room suddenly grew cold. Not an uncomfortable cold, but a noticeable chill. Then, there was light, though it came from nowhere in particular. It was soft and warm, despite the cool air. And then he was there, right in front of me. I knew instantly who it was. Don't ask me how, I just knew. He didn't look like the images we're used to. He wasn't floating on clouds or glowing like a Christmas tree. He looked like a man, a real man, but something in his eyes was not entirely human. There was an ancient sadness mixed with deep love. He wore simple clothes and looked weary, as if he'd traveled a long way. I didn't speak at first. What could I say? I've met presidents, queens, and movie stars, but this was different. My mouth went dry, and my heart pounded so hard I thought it might stop. He spoke first. His voice was soft, gentle, yet it filled the entire room. "Clint," he said, and hearing my name from his lips nearly overwhelmed me. "I need you to see something. I need you to bear witness." I nodded. What else could I do? He reached out his hand, and I took it. The moment I did, everything changed. I can't fully explain what happened next. It was like I was still in my living room, but I wasn't. I was somewhere else, or perhaps seeing through different eyes. Time seemed to fold in on itself. Then he began to show me things. He showed me America as it is now, not the version we like to imagine, but the truth. He revealed the division, the hatred, how we've come to despise neighbors over politics. He showed me families torn apart, friendships broken, communities falling apart. He showed me the loneliness, the profound loneliness of so many who live in crowds but feel utterly isolated. He showed me children growing up afraid, uncertain, disconnected from. He showed me a generation of children who lack any real sense of meaning or purpose beyond their next social media post. He revealed the greed that's taken hold, how everything has been reduced to a transaction or commodity, how profit is valued above people, efficiency above compassion, and winning above understanding. He showed me how our public conversations have been poisoned, replaced by sound bites and outrage instead of thoughtful dialogue and subtlety. Then he showed me the churches, and this part was painful to witness. Churches more focused on maintaining power and influence than living by his teachings. Buildings filled with people who attend on Sundays but live contrary to those values the rest of the week. Ministers growing wealthy from the gospel while the poor remain hungry. Faith has been twisted into a political tool rather than a life-changing practice. But that was only the start, just a picture of where we are now. Then he said, "Now I will show you where you are headed." That's when things grew darker. He showed me America 10, 20, or even 30 years from now if we continue down this path. He showed me cities where people no longer speak to each other, living isolated in their own digital bubbles and curated realities, never facing anyone with differing opinions. He showed me violence, not necessarily war, but everyday cruelty, a harshness of spirit that has become accepted as normal. He showed me families that no longer function as families, just people sharing the same address. He showed me children raised by screens, whose ability to feel empathy and form real connections is fading before it even develops. He showed me a generation overwhelmed by anxiety and depression, heavily medicated, moving through life like shadows. He showed me the land itself, beautiful places I've spent a lifetime filming and celebrating, poisoned and drained because we failed to care for it properly. He showed me communities that have given up, surrendered to despair, where hope has become an unaffordable luxury. He showed me democracy, once our proudest achievement, reduced to a hollow ritual. People going through the motions without belief, where power is something to grab and keep, not to use responsibly for the common good. And he showed me faith, or rather, the absence of it. Not just religious faith, but faith in one another, faith in institutions, faith in the possibility of a better future. He showed me people who had lost their sense of purpose, who had forgotten what they were meant to do here, what this American experiment was truly about. As I watched all this, something inside me broke. I've seen a lot in my life. I've played tough characters, outlaws, men who face evil without hesitation. But this was overwhelming. Tears began to flow down my face, and I couldn't stop them. I didn't even try. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why me?" He looked at me with those eyes, deep, sad, and full of love. And he said, "Because it doesn't have to be this way. Because there is still time. Because I need witnesses. People who will speak out, tell the truth, and remind others of what truly matters." Then he vanished, just gone, as if he had never been there. I found myself back in my living room, sitting in my chair, tears on my face, my heart heavy. I glanced at the clock. Only minutes had passed, but it felt like hours. I sat there for a long time, trying to process what I had seen, trying to convince myself it was just a dream, a product of sleep and imagination. But I knew better. I understood what I had experienced. Eventually, I got up and went to the kitchen to make some coffee. It was around 2 a.m. I stood by the window, looking out into the darkness, drinking my coffee, feeling hollow and aged. Then he returned. This time there was no grand entrance, no light. He was simply there, standing beside me at the window. If anything, this second, he showed me people who had lost their sense of purpose, who had forgotten what they were meant to do here, what this American experiment was truly about. As I watched all this, something inside me broke. I've seen a lot in my life. I've played tough characters, outlaws, men who face evil without hesitation. But this was overwhelming. Tears began to flow down my face, and I couldn't stop them. I didn't even try. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why me?" He looked at me with those eyes, deep, sad, and full of love. And he said, "Because it doesn't have to be this way. Because there is still time. Because I need witnesses. People who will speak out, tell the truth, and remind others of what truly matters." Then he vanished, just gone, as if he had never been there. I found myself back in my living room, sitting in my chair, tears on my face, my heart heavy. I glanced at the clock. Only minutes had passed, but it felt like hours. I sat there for a long time, trying to process what I had seen, trying to convince myself it was just a dream, a product of sleep and imagination. But I knew better. I understood what I had experienced. Eventually, I got up and went to the kitchen to make some coffee. It was around 2 a.m. I stood by the window, looking out into the darkness, drinking my coffee, feeling hollow and aged. Then he returned. This time there was no grand entrance, no light. He was simply there, standing beside me at the window. If anything, his second appearance was even more unsettling, not because of spectacle, but because of how ordinary it felt. "You're troubled," he said. It wasn't a question. "Of course I am," I replied. "You just showed me the end of everything I care about." "I showed you one possible future," he corrected gently. "Not the only future, not an unavoidable one." "Then why show it to me at all?" I asked. "Why put me through that?" "Because comfort is the enemy of change," he said. "People need to understand what's at stake. Sometimes you have to see where the road leads before you're willing to take a different path." We stood quietly for a moment. Then he continued. "You know, Clint, I walked this earth for 33 years. I taught. I healed. I tried to show people a different way to live. And the heart of everything I taught was simple. Love one another. Care for each other. Don't get so caught up in your own concerns that you forget your neighbor. Don't let fear and hatred control your hearts. Choose compassion. Choose mercy. Choose grace. We're not very good at that, I said. No, he agreed. You're not, but you could be. That's what I need you to understand. That's what I need you to tell others. The future I showed you. That's what happens if this path of division, hatred, and selfishness continues. But it's not inevitable. You still have the power to choose differently. What do you want me to do? I asked. I'm just one person, an old actor. What can I do? He smiled then, and it changed his whole expression. You do what you've always done. You tell stories. You bear witness. You speak the truth. And you trust that others will listen and respond. Change rarely comes from the top down, Clint. It comes from people like you. Ordinary people who refuse to accept things as they are, who speak up even when it's uncomfortable. What should I tell them? I asked. Tell them what you saw. Tell them what's at stake. And tell them this. It's not too late. It's never too late to choose love over hate, unity over division, hope over despair. Tell them I haven't given up on them, and they shouldn't give up on each other. Remind them that the soul of this nation, or any nation, rests in their hands, in the daily choices they make, in how they treat those around them. They won't listen, I said. Some will, he replied. And some of those will act, and their actions will inspire others. That's how change happens. That's how it always has. You don't need everyone, Clint. You just need enough. You need the few who still remember what truly matters, who still believe something better is possible. He placed his hand on my shoulder, and I felt a warmth and strength I hadn't felt in years. I'm asking you to be brave, he said. To speak up even when people mock you, even when they say you've lost your mind. I'm asking you to risk your reputation, your comfort, your pride for the sake of truth. Can you do that? I thought carefully. I considered what people would say, how I'd be ridiculed, how this speech might end whatever legacy I'd built. But then I thought about what I'd seen, that heartbreaking vision of America's future. I thought about my children, my grandchildren, and all the young people who deserve better than what we're leaving behind. Yes, I said. I can do that. He nodded, squeezed my shoulder once more, then disappeared. This time, I knew he wasn't coming back. Not last night, anyway. I spent the rest of the night and the morning thinking about what to say to you, how to explain this without sounding insane. But I've decided I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if this ruins my career or damages my reputation. What matters is telling the truth as I experienced it. America is in serious trouble, deep trouble, not because of any single political party, policy, or person. We're in trouble because we've forgotten how to be neighbors. We've forgotten how to listen to each other, how to disagree without demonizing, how to find common ground without sacrificing our principles. We've forgotten that we're all in this together, that we rise or fall as one people. We've allowed fear and anger to become our default emotions. Social media and cable news have taught us to hate strangers. Our political differences have become more important than our shared humanity. And we've convinced ourselves that many have come to believe that this is just how things are, that there is no alternative, that we're powerless to change it. But that's not true. We're never powerless. Every day, we make decisions about the kind of people we want to be, the communities we want to build, and the country we want to leave behind. Those choices matter. They add up. They shape the world we live in. Jesus showed me the consequences of continuing to make the wrong choices. It broke my heart. But he also reminded me it doesn't have to be that way. We can choose differently. We can decide right now, today, to be better, kinder, more compassionate, more forgiving, more willing to listen and understand. I'm not asking you to change your political views or your religious beliefs. That's not my role or qualification. What I'm asking is simpler, yet more challenging. Love your neighbor. Care for one another. Choose grace over judgment. Choose conversation over condemnation. Choose hope instead of despair. That's the message. It's not complicated, but it isn't easy either. It requires practice, discipline, and daily commitment. It means putting down your phone and actually talking to the person beside you. It means seeing those who disagree with you as fellow human beings deserving respect, not enemies to be defeated. It means taking responsibility for your part in the world instead of waiting for others to fix things. I know I'm old, and my time is limited. but I want to spend whatever time I have left speaking this truth. We can do better. We must do better for our children, for our country, and for our own souls. We must choose a different path. Last night, Jesus wept for America. He wept for what we're doing to ourselves, to one another, and for the future we're creating through division and hate. But he hasn't given up on us. That means we can't give up either. I've played many tough characters who face impossible odds and somehow win. Well, this is real. This is our moment. The odds are against us. The easy way leads to destruction. Many believe it's already too late. But it's not. It's never too late to choose differently. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Choose differently. Choose love. Choose unity. Choose hope. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Not because you'll see quick results, but because it's the right thing to do. Jesus came to me last night and showed me what happens if we don't change, and I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cried like a child because I saw the death of everything I love about this country. But he also gave me hope. He told me it doesn't have to be that way. He told me there's still time. He told me to tell you. So now I've told you. What you do with it is up to you. Thank you for listening.